Back again with video 2 on lesson 1. In the learning to speak the language of music section of this lesson, Brad teaches a little bit about how scales are made, and the lesson leads on page 5 and 6 to the G scale, and at the bottom of page 6 the G sharp scale. Part of the assignment in this first lesson is to learn these scales and play these scales daily, or at least as often as you can, as often as you sit down to play. Spend a minute or two playing the G scales. Now, for some of you, these scales may be new, learning the scales. For others, you've learned so many scales they're coming out the gazoo. And I would say that playing scales and practicing scales is a very good exercise, always a good exercise. It's good for warming up, and it's good for just implanting those notes under your fingers. But it can also be very, very boring, a very, very boring exercise after a while. So I want to talk about ways to spice it up and make it easier. Once you've learned that scale, you've got the scales under your fingers, there are things you can do to spice them up. Brad shows in the book, for instance, the G scale, and play it like this. Not right. Play it like this. Well, that can get old pretty fast, so we're going to talk about ways to spice it up. I'm going to get the camera a little closer, and then we're going to talk about several ways that I like to do this. Okay, when we talk about spicing up these scales, the first thing you can do is add notes, and so that we can change up the rhythm a little bit. So in this scale of G, one thing we can do is add the next note that follows that last G. We have a G here, and we end with a G here. So the notes on the scale of G are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. So you notice the scale begins with a G and ends with a G. This is an octave. Got a G here and a G one octave higher here. The next note would be the A, and we have an open A string. So we can do this. We can play an A, and then we can use our little finger to catch that same A over here on the 7th fret of the D string. Another thing we can do, I just did, is add the octave at the end. Okay, and then here's another idea for you. that case, well, all I'm doing is going up the scale, right back down, and when I get to the D note, I pedal between the D and the E. D, E, D. Okay, so you can, you're using your 5th note and your 6th note and pedaling between the 5 and the 6. The notes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, back at G. Pedaling between the 5 and the 6. Okay, and then another way to do it would be to pedal down here the 1, 2, and 3 notes, and I do that like this. Okay, those are just some ideas. There are a lot of other things you can do. You can play the scale in thirds and just all kinds of things. But these are pretty simple, and if you are familiar with playing scales and you kind of get bored playing them, there are ways to spice it up. And the only last thing that I would add is that you can change the rhythm. Instead of playing them straight, add a little swing. And I hope that that gives you a little inspiration as to how you can make playing scales more interesting.